The land of the free? More like the land of the, how do I get this for free? We are talking about people faking pregnancies for gift cards and dressing like burritos for lunch. Human dignity has a price tag, and apparently, it costs less than a stale donut. Here are 49 times Americans traded their shame for free stuff they didn't even need. 1. We all know the price of higher education in the States is basically highway robbery. But one woman in Ohio decided to rob them back. She realized that college orientation weeks are like Christmas for corporate swag. Backpacks, hoodies, water bottles, and enough USB drives to build a robot. So she enrolled in a single, bottom-tier online course just to secure the wristband. She spent the entire day looting the campus tents like a pirate, filling her trunk with merchandise worth 5 times the cost of her tuition deposit. She walked away with a brand new wardrobe and absolutely zero intention of attending a single lecture. It is arguably the best return on investment anyone has ever gotten from the American education system in the last 20 years. 2. There is a fine line between brand loyalty and clinical insanity, and a guy in Denver crossed it during a national burrito chain's Halloween promo. The deal was standard: dress like a burrito, eat for free. Most people just wrapped some aluminum foil around their torso. Not this genius. He went to a hardware store, bought industrial-grade silver insulation, and constructed a full-body, breathable suit that made him look like a spacecraft. He didn't just hit one store. He drove to 5 different locations in a 30-mile radius. At one stop, the manager was so moved by his costume dedication that he asked for a photo. Little did he know, inside that suit was a man sweating profusely, fueled entirely by greed and the thrill of scamming $12 worth of carnitas. 3. Vanity is a powerful drug, and one man proved it by exploiting small-town hospitality with nothing but a GoPro and a lie. He wandered through rural America claiming to be a director filming a documentary on the heart of quirky America. He would stop locals on the street and ask the most nonsensical questions imaginable, like, "What does your casserole say about your soul?" People were so desperate for 15 minutes of fame that they started showering him with gifts. One lady baked him a rhubarb pie, another literally gave him a hand-knitted sweater off her back. The best part? The camera wasn't even recording. He wasn't capturing culture, he was just doing his grocery and clothes shopping by exploiting the ego of strangers. 4. In a world where people pay therapists hundreds of dollars just to be heard, one guy realized he could undercut the market with a piece of cardboard. He stood in city parks with a sign that read, "Free compliments, tips appreciated." It sounds stupid, but it was a goldmine. He told joggers they looked athletic, told moms their kids were cute, and told guys in suits they looked successful. He was pulling in a solid daily wage just by stating the obvious. But the hustle hit a wall when a regular customer came back, dropped a 10 in the jar, and genuinely asked, "So how are you doing today?" The guy froze. He had no script for actual human connection. He just took the money, stared blankly, and realized he had become a mercenary of kindness. 5. The real estate market is tough, but for one man, it was just an upscale catering service. He noticed that open houses in wealthy neighborhoods always serve wine, expensive cheese, and those little fancy sandwiches with the crust cut off. He turned it into a full-time weekend hobby. He'd put on a blazer, walk into a $3 million mansion, and critique the crown molding while shoving handfuls of prosciutto into his mouth. He did this for months until a sharp realtor recognized him from a listing 2 towns over. She cornered him by the kitchen island and asked, "Didn't you already buy a house last month?" He didn't even flinch. He swallowed a cracker and said, "Yes, I did, but honestly, your brie is unbeatable. You almost have to respect the audacity." 6. You are never too old to con a multinational corporation. A retiree with too much time on his hands decided he wanted free stuff, so he invented a fake job. He emailed major toy companies claiming to be the head reviewer for a grandparent gaming blog. He spun a sob story about helping seniors connect with their grandkids through play. The marketing departments didn't bother to check if the blog existed. Spoiler, it didn't. They just started shipping him boxes of the latest board games, puzzles, and electronic gadgets. His garage looked like a Toys R Us exploded. He didn't play them. He just liked getting packages. Somewhere, there is a landfill full of unopened Monopoly sets because one old man wanted to feel important. 7. Gym memberships are harder to cancel than a subscription to a cult. So one couple decided to hack the system. They became professional trial week nomads. They mapped out every fitness center, yoga studio, and luxury health club in the city. Every week, they signed up for a new free 7-day pass. But they never touched a dumbbell. They were there strictly for the steam room, the massage chairs, and the complimentary cucumber water. At one high-end club, a perplexed trainer finally asked them, "Hey, are you guys ever going to actually lift anything?" The husband just smiled, raised his free protein smoothie and a toast, and said, "I'm lifting my spirits, buddy." They were banned immediately, but they were the most relaxed banned people in town. 8. Local government meetings are usually the most boring places on earth, filled with angry residents complaining about fence heights. But one woman discovered that City Hall meetings always had free donuts and coffee in the back. She started showing up every Tuesday just for the sugar rush. She would sit in the back row, eat a glazed donut, and zone out. But a funny thing happens when you listen to complaints for that long. You start to get annoyed. She eventually got tired of hearing about the pothole on Main Street and stood up to argue. Then she spoke up about zoning. Before she knew it, she was passionate about municipal infrastructure. She started as a freeloader looking for a snack and accidentally got herself elected to the city council. Talk about a plan backfiring into responsibility. 9. Writing a book is the perfect cover for a con because nobody questions an author with a notebook and a serious expression. A woman spent 2 full years touring the most expensive resorts in the country under the guise of researching a groundbreaking book on modern hospitality trends. She would take the hour-long facility tour, drink the complimentary champagne, raid the spa for high-end lotion samples, and stuff her purse with glossy brochures. She never booked a single room. Not one night. Staff would ask when the book was coming out, and she'd vaguely gesture to the horizon. The only thing she actually authored was a masterclass in petty theft and wasting people's time. 10. There is no limit to how dumb corporations become when a cute animal is involved. During a DIY workshop at a major hardware chain, a man registered for the event under the name Mr. Nails. When he arrived, Mr. Nails turned out to be a golden retriever wearing a custom-fitted leather tool belt. Instead of kicking him out for safety violations, the staff lost their minds. They helped the dog build a birdhouse, which just meant the owner used the drill while the dog licked sawdust. They gave him 3 bags of premium samples and treated him better than the human customers. The best part? The dog is still on their mailing list and receives coupons for power tools every month. 11. Being an influencer is mostly about faking it until you make it, or in this guy's case, faking it until FedEx arrives. He wanted free electronics, so he set up a YouTube review channel that was completely empty. He would email marketing departments links to a blank page, claiming his latest unboxing reviews were getting 2,000 views an hour. You would think a marketing manager might click the link to verify, right? Wrong. They were so desperate for coverage they just shipped him headphones, speakers, and gadgets without a second thought. It worked for months. It turns out the only thing easier to hack than a computer is the sheer incompetence of a PR department. 12. This next one is ethically bankrupt, but you have to admire the logistics. A young couple decided to monetize a baby that didn't exist. They signed up for baby registries at multiple big box stores. Then, they logged in and manually marked the expensive items like strollers and cribs as already purchased. Then came the genius part. They went to the store claiming they received duplicate gifts and asked to return the non-existent items for store credit. Since it was on the registry, the store often just handed them gift cards. They were cash flow positive on a pregnancy that was purely theoretical. I am not saying you should do this, but I am saying college is expensive. 13. Historical reenactors are a tight-knit community, usually because no one else wants to hang out with them. But one teenager managed to infiltrate their ranks without an invite. He showed up to a colonial fair dressed in a thrift store coat, affecting a terrible British accent, and carrying an umbrella he had painted to look like a musket. He didn't buy a ticket. He just marched in like he owned the colonies. He was so confident that the organizers assumed he was a VIP guest from another chapter. He ate the stew, fired a cannon, and somehow ended up front and center in the official group photo. He rewrote history just by being weird enough to belong. 14. Car dealerships will do anything to get you on the lot, including feeding you mediocre barbecue. One man realized that test drive days were essentially open buffets with cars attached. He started RSVPing to every dealership event in the county using different aliases and increasingly bad disguises. One week he was a cowboy looking for a truck, the next, a tech CEO looking for a hybrid. He never bought a car, but he ate like a king. By his fifth visit, a salesman leaned in and whispered, "Tell Mr. Mustache I said hello." The gig was up, but honestly, for free brisket, the humiliation was probably worth it. 15. Tech conferences are chaotic, loud, and full of socially awkward people, making them the perfect hunting ground for a thief with confidence. This guy didn't bother entering raffles, he just waited near the stage. The second a winner's name was called, if the person didn't appear instantly, he would swoop in. He'd grab the prize, look confused, and say, "Oh, sorry, I thought you called my name." If the real winner showed up, he'd apologize and hand it over. If not, he walked away with smartwatches and tablets. He operated on the principle that most tech geeks are too polite to accuse someone of theft in public. He was absolutely right. 16. Retirement is supposed to be about relaxation, but for one Florida man, it was a tactical operation. He realized that different grocery chains offered free coffee and donuts for senior appreciation mornings on different days of the week. He created a spreadsheet and mapped out a route that allowed him to hit 5 different stores in a loop. He called it his free breakfast club. He would show up at 8 a.m. sharp, grab his coffee and cruller, and move to the next target. He hadn't paid for breakfast in 3 years. When you are on a fixed income, caffeine logistics are a matter of survival. 17. Community festivals are great, but the food vendors are expensive. One woman bypassed the prices by pretending to run a local matchmaking service. She walked around with a very official-looking clipboard, stopping at food trucks and booths to offer free personality compatibility tests. Her method? She claimed she needed to sample the vendor's food to assess the chemical profile for potential matches. It makes zero scientific sense, but people love the idea of love. She ate funnel cakes and corn dogs all day while scribbling random hearts on her paper. She didn't find anyone a soulmate, but she definitely found lunch. 18. Most people leave work at work, but a part-time zoo mascot decided to take his work to dinner. On his days off, he would wear his fuzzy, sweating costume into family restaurants, claiming he was there to promote wildlife education. In reality, he just wanted free appetizers. Most diners thought it was cute, but the staff was terrified. There is nothing more unsettling than a 6-foot otter silently pointing at the dessert menu. After he made a toddler scream in terror, the manager finally caved and gave him a free slice of cheesecake just to make him leave. Sometimes, being a public nuisance pays off in calories. 19. The gig economy is ripe for exploitation if you are bad at math but good at fraud. An Uber driver figured out that he could create fake passenger accounts and order rides for himself. He would accept the ride, drive around the block with an empty car, and collect the new rider promo bonuses. It was an infinite money glitch until the algorithm noticed he was picking up passengers in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. When his account was flagged, he tried to appeal the ban using the fake name Hubert Uberman. Honestly, if you are going to commit wire fraud, at least choose a name that doesn't sound like a cartoon villain from a cereal box. 20. Casinos are mathematically designed to empty your pockets, but one guy in Las Vegas decided to reverse the cash flow. He realized that signing up for a player's card usually comes with perks like free buffet vouchers and slot play. So he hit the strip with a strategy that was as brilliant as it was stupid. He signed up at every single casino using slight variations of his name: John, Johnny, and Jay Smith. He was living like a king on comped shrimp cocktails and free spins. But the house always wins. His empire crumbled when John Smith sat down at a roulette table right next to Johnny Smith, and the pit boss realized they had the exact same face. He was banned for life, but he ate well for a week. 21. Tattoos are expensive, and good artists rarely work for free. But one guy found a loophole in the industry by exploiting the concept of education. He worked at a shop and advertised that he was looking for volunteers for an apprentice practice session to get free ink. But there was no apprentice. He would just lock the door, set up the mirror, and use the shop's expensive supplies to tattoo himself. He managed to give himself 19 tattoos under the guise of training a non-existent student. He is now fully covered in ink and partially covered in lies. You have to admire the dedication to being cheap, even if the artwork is upside down. 22. Arizona's summers are essentially a preview of the afterlife, so finding air conditioning is a matter of survival. One man decided that paying a massive electric bill was for suckers. He mapped out a route of high-end open houses every weekend. He wasn't looking for a mortgage. He was looking for 68-degree air and free lemon water. He would lounge on the staging furniture, criticize the backsplash, and eat all the complimentary cookies. Agents started calling him the Nomad because he was everywhere, but never made an offer. When the temperatures finally dropped in October, he ghosted the entire real estate market. He didn't buy a home, but he definitely saved hundreds on cooling costs. 23. The only thing more aggressive than a Shark Tank is a local Facebook parenting group. One mother decided to weaponize this. She joined dozens of groups under various aliases, creating a network of fictitious, struggling moms. Her target? Diaper giveaways. Whenever someone posted leftover size 2s, porch pickup, she was there. She drove across 3 counties collecting half-opened packs of Pampers. Within months, her garage looked like a distribution center. She stockpiled a year's supply without spending a nickel. Her baby had the most cost-effective bowel movements in history. It is slightly unethical to scam other moms, but have you seen the price of diapers lately? 24. Everyone wants to be a food critic, but this guy skipped the writing part and went straight to the eating part. He printed up some cheap business cards for a local newsletter that didn't actually exist. He would walk into new bakeries, introduce himself as the lead food editor, and insinuate that a positive review could make or break their business. Terrified owners would load him up with croissants, donuts, and sourdough loaves on the house. He did this for a year. The result? He gained 15 pounds of pure butter weight, and his newsletter gained exactly 0 subscribers because he never wrote a single word. A true parasite of the culinary world. 25. Wellness events are full of expensive products that taste like dirt, but they are free. One woman developed a persona known as the Blur. She bought a high-end tracksuit and started crashing outdoor marathons and yoga festivals. She wouldn't actually participate. She would just sprint past the vendor tents, grabbing coconut water, protein bars, and energy gels without breaking stride. She looked so intense that nobody dared to ask to see her registration bib. She was burning calories solely to make room for stolen carbohydrates. It's the circle of life, just with more petty theft. 26. Broadway tickets cost a fortune, but confidence costs nothing. A group of friends realized that theater security is mostly based on looking like you belong. They dressed in black slacks and white shirts, bought generic name tags online, and stood in the lobby of a local theater. They greeted guests, nodded solemnly, and pointed vaguely toward the doors. They didn't help a single person find their actual seat. Once the lights went down, they slipped into the empty rows and enjoyed the show. They saw the biggest hits of the season without paying a dime. It was a performance art piece in itself, a masterclass in social engineering. 27. Stolen valor is a serious crime, but stolen discounts are just hilarious. a teenager signed up for an expensive Italian cooking class using a generous military veteran promo code. When the registration form asked for his branch of service, he didn't lie. He wrote, "Call of Duty, Warzone Division." The chef was ready to kick him out for the insult until the kid started cooking. Apparently, all that time gaming gave him incredible hand-eye coordination. He rolled the perfect gnocchi. The instructor sighed, looked at the pasta, and decided to let it slide. The kid defended the burger town. He deserved a meal. 28. Airport food is a lawless wasteland where a stale sandwich costs $20. A traveler stuck in Denver found a loophole that borders on genius. He realized that nearby hotels offer free breakfast to guests, but they also have generous cancellation policies. He would book a fully refundable room for that night, walk into the lobby, eat the buffet like a starving man, and then cancel the reservation via the app before the check-in deadline. He was eating eggs and waffles on the hotel's dime, while technically never being a customer. It takes a special kind of person to scam a Holiday Inn out of a bagel, but desperation breeds innovation. 29. Security guards are trained to look for nervous people, so this man decided to be the most relaxed person on Earth. He developed the nod theory. He would walk into VIP sections, backstage areas, and private parties with a distinct, confident nod to security. He acted like he owned the building. It worked for years. He drank free booze and rubbed elbows with celebrities just by projecting pure entitlement. But the law of averages eventually caught up. He nodded at a bouncer who nodded back, grabbed his arm, and asked, "Wait, who the hell are you?" The spell broke, but he had a good run. 30. Vending machines are distinct fortresses of snacks, but one guy found a way to breach the walls. He printed out official-looking signs that said, "Machine under audit, maintenance in progress," and taped them over the glass. While people walked by assuming he was a technician, he was fishing out bags of chips with a modified coat hanger. It was the perfect crime until a janitor walked in on him mid-heist. Instead of calling the cops, the janitor leaned on his mop and whispered, "Grab me a Snickers and we'll call it a server error." Corruption really does start at the bottom. 31. Most hackers want to steal data or millions of dollars. This guy just wanted a new wardrobe. He noticed that a major software company sent out high-quality branded hoodies to anyone who reported a legitimate bug in their code. He didn't know how to code, but he knew how to read. He scoured their website for hours every day, finding typos, broken links, and formatting errors. He reported every single one. The company was so annoyed yet grateful that they kept shipping him merchandise. He has an entire closet full of developer swag, and he doesn't even know how to write a Hello World script. 32. There is being frugal, and then there is digging through the trash at a gas station. One man noticed that the local car wash offered a coupon for a free large coffee with every premium wash. He realized that most people threw the receipt away immediately. So he started raiding the trash cans near the vacuum stations. He would smooth out the crumpled receipts and march inside for his free caffeine. He did this so often that the cashier eventually stopped asking for the paper. He just handed the guy a thermos and told him to fill it up just to keep him out of the garbage. 33. Banks usually take your money, but one woman turned her local branch into a coffee shop. She noticed they put out a tray of fresh cookies and a pot of premium roast for customers during the morning rush. She started showing up every single day at 10 a.m., dressed in a sharp blazer, holding a leather portfolio. She wasn't a customer, she didn't even have an account there. But she acted with such authority that the tellers assumed she was a regional vice president checking in. By the third week, she brought her own engraved mug. Nobody dared to question the woman who looked like she could fire them. 34. Improv classes are expensive, but the first introductory class is almost always free to hook you in. One guy took advantage of this by becoming a serial beginner. He would sign up for the free trial session at every theater in the city, scream, "Yes, and," for 2 hours, and then vanish before the payment deadline. He claimed he just loved the chaotic energy of day one. He was a legend in the underground comedy scene until he circled back to a theater he'd already hit. The instructor squinted at him and said, "You again? You're like the improv ghost." He took a bow and ran out the back door. 35. Corporate virtue signaling is a powerful drug, and one woman in the suburbs found a way to overdose on it. She created a completely fake nonprofit organization called Hammocks for the Homeless. The name alone implies a logistical nightmare, but corporate PR departments don't ask questions. They just write checks. She sent out donation requests to outdoor furniture companies, and to her shock, 14 of them responded with merchandise. Her backyard was transformed into a swinging paradise of high-end nylon and canvas. It was the ultimate relaxation zone until her homeowners association sent a cease and desist letter asking if she was starting a music festival. The only person finding shelter in those hammocks was her, usually with a margarita in hand. 36. The farm-to-table movement is huge in Vermont, but one man decided to pioneer the Walmart-to-table-to-refund movement. He hosted an annual heirloom apple tasting event on his property, inviting neighbors to rate local produce. The catch? He bought all the apples at a discount superstore an hour before the guests arrived. He let the locals take a bite, critique the flavor profiles, and then he would take the half-eaten leftovers back to the store, claiming they were defective based on customer feedback. He called it community-informed refunding. He essentially crowdsourced his quality control and got his money back for fruit that was already digested. It is gross, it is unsanitary, and it is honestly kind of brilliant. 37. Restaurants love to make you feel special on your birthday, usually with a free slice of cake or a blooming onion. A retiree decided that being born once a year was simply not enough. He signed up for hundreds of restaurant birthday clubs using different email aliases and slight variations of his birth date. Every single week, he printed out a stack of happy birthday coupons and went on a culinary tour of the city. When a suspicious waiter finally asked, "Sir, didn't we celebrate your birthday last Tuesday?" The old man just smiled, tapped his fork on the table, and said, "I come from a culture that celebrates life very frequently." He turned aging into a profitable business model. 38. Consumerism drives people to do crazy things, like camping out on a sidewalk for 3 days to buy a phone that is slightly faster than the one they already have. One man decided to monetize this mass hysteria. He became a professional line sitter. He would bring a tent and a chair to high-profile product launches, securing a spot at the very front. But he never bought the product. Instead, about an hour before the doors opened, he would turn to the desperate people behind him and ask, "Who wants to buy my spot?" In 1 week, he cleared $400 cash. He wasn't selling time. He was selling the illusion of status to people with more money than sense. 39. You can't say no to a kid trying to save the planet, and one high schooler knew exactly how to exploit that guilt. He claimed to be spearheading a Green Earth initiative for his school and went door-to-door collecting used printer ink cartridges. Neighbors handed them over by the bagful, thinking they were helping the environment. In reality, the kid was shipping them to a recycling center that paid cash for empty shells. He didn't save the polar bears, but he did make enough money to buy a top-tier gaming PC. I am torn between being impressed by his hustle and mildly alarmed that he monetized his neighbor's eco-anxiety. 40. Weddings are arguably the most expensive parties on Earth, unless you are this guy. For an entire year, he spent his weekends crashing weddings he wasn't invited to. His strategy was flawless. He wore a sharp suit, danced with the elderly aunts, and carried a fancy gift bag that was literally filled with heavy rocks to make it look substantial. He operated under a simple motto: if there is an open bar and the chicken is hot, I belong here. He would eat a 3-course meal, drink the expensive scotch, and slip out the back door. He didn't catch the bouquet, but he definitely caught a mild case of gout from all the free shrimp. Worth it. 41. Nostalgia makes people do strange things, but hunger makes them do smarter things. A woman organized a massive 10-year high school reunion at a local banquet hall. She set up a fake Facebook group, invited random people, and scheduled appointments with caterers to taste test the menu options. She spent weeks sampling roast beef, pasta stations, and hors d'oeuvres. The kicker? She never even went to that high school. She didn't know a single person in the graduating class. She just wanted free appetizers and the chance to judge people's life choices without any of the emotional baggage. That is social engineering at its finest. 42. Business-to-business marketing is desperate, and one guy found a way to profit from it. He heard that office supply stores send free sample boxes to new companies. So he registered a fake limited liability company under the name Pen Enthusiasts United. It sounds like a fake club, but the corporate algorithms didn't care. He started receiving boxes of gel pens, legal pads, highlighters, and staplers. Once they sent him a full case of premium markers just to secure his account. He has never run a business in his life, but his home office is better stocked than a Fortune 500 company. He has enough ink to write a manifesto about how easy it is to scam the system. 43. The tech world is flush with venture capital money, and where there is money, there are free snacks. A retired man started frequenting startup networking events in his city. He didn't have a pitch deck or a revolutionary app. He just really liked mini burgers and craft beer. He would stand near the food table, nodding thoughtfully while 20-year-old CEOs pitched him their Uber for Dogs ideas. Once, a young founder talked at him for 15 minutes about blockchain. The old man listened, took a sip of free IPA and said, "Son, that sounds great, but I'm really just here for the mozzarella sticks." He was the only honest person in the room. 44. College students are notoriously broke and hungry, so one girl turned religious exploration into a dietary plan. She joined dozens of student religious groups, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, not because she was searching for truth, but because they all hosted fellowship nights with free dinner. She memorized the greetings, learned the dietary restrictions, and showed up with a smile. Her roommate called it faith-based grazing. Her GPA took a hit because she was so busy attending prayer circles, but she didn't buy groceries for an entire semester. She was ecumenical strictly for the carbohydrates. 45. Trade shows are boring, unless you're pretending to be a big shot. At a regional hardware expo, a man posed as a small business owner looking to switch suppliers for his construction firm. He walked the floor with a clipboard, asking tough questions about torques and battery life. The sales reps were so eager to land a contract that they loaded him up with samples. He walked out with power tools, work gloves, industrial flashlights, and a belt sander. He doesn't own a construction firm. He lives in a condo. But if anything ever breaks, he is prepared to fix it with stolen equipment. 46. Couponing is usually a hobby, but for a woman in Minnesota, it was aggressive financial warfare. She mastered the art of stacking manufacturer coupons with store promotions and loyalty points. She understood the math better than the store's own computer system. One day, she reached the checkout with a cart full of groceries totaling $130. After she scanned her stack of coupons, the register beeped and indicated the store owed her money. She walked out with a week's worth of food and a $6 gift card. The cashier didn't even call security. He just stared at the receipt and muttered, "I don't get paid enough to understand this wizardry." 47. The fashion industry is built on smoke and mirrors, so it is the easiest place to fake it. During Fashion Week, a woman decided to become an indie fashion editor. Her credentials? She dressed in all black, wore oversized sunglasses indoors, and carried a vintage film camera she didn't know how to use. She walked past security with a haughty attitude and ended up in the front row. She got designer goodie bags worth thousands and was even photographed by paparazzi, who assumed she was someone important. She never published a review because she doesn't have a blog. She was just a ghost in a Gucci belt. 48. Artists love to support other struggling artists, which makes them easy targets. At a local book fair, a man posed as a tortured poet just to get sympathy freebies. He wore a heavy scarf in the middle of July, carried a beat-up notebook, and would randomly stop at booths to recite vague lines like, "Paper bleeds the truth of silence." Vendors were so moved by his performance that they gave him free journals, handmade bookmarks, and pens. One stranger even handed him a $20 bill and whispered, "Keep chasing your voice." He used that money to buy a plate of nachos immediately. He proved that while art is subjective, the nutritional value of free cheese is an absolute fact. 49. Parents will use their kids for anything, but this guy in Nevada took it to a professional level. He started taking his toddler to the grand openings of new retail stores. The trick? He would dress the kid in the brand's specific colors, red for Target, blue for Best Buy, and tell the managers, "Look, he is your biggest fan." It is psychologically impossible to reject a toddler in a tiny uniform. They walked away with balloons, stuffed animals, and at one coffee shop opening, a brand new espresso machine. The toddler obviously didn't need caffeine, but the dad certainly enjoyed the fruits of his child's labor. Look, we both know you're judging these people while secretly taking notes. So let's drop the act. What is the pettiest, cheapest thing you have ever done to save $1? I don't want the polite answer. I want the illegal one. Confess in the comments. The statute of limitations has probably run out. And if this video gave you any ideas, hit that subscribe button before you get arrested.